got into tennis because of my brother. He's 3 years older and he started playing tennis. And so when it came time for me to pick up a sport, I kind of think they just threw me in with him.
The tennis world has seen viral moments before: dramatic championship points, shocking upsets, emotional press conferences, but nothing quite like what happened when Alex appeared on The Sit Down, the official podcast by Tennis Australia. Within hours of the episode's release, social media exploded. Clips were shared across platforms faster than live match highlights. Tennis analysts dissected her every word. Filipino fans expressed pride, awe, and emotion, while global audiences suddenly became invested in a young player they might have barely known the name of just a day before. And all of this happened without a single swing of a racket, without a single court victory showcased, and without the bright lights of a stadium. It happened because Alexandra Eala spoke honestly and vulnerably about her journey, her challenges, her mindset, and her aspirations. Alexandra Eala has been building her career methodically, steadily, and with intense dedication. She's a former junior Grand Slam champion, trained at the prestigious Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain, and carries the weight of being one of the brightest tennis prospects to emerge from the Philippines. Her path has never been easy. From leaving her family at a young age to train abroad, to adjusting to new cultures, languages, and coaching styles, Alexandra's journey has always demanded resilience, patience, and relentless effort. She has been a rising star in the tennis world for years, but this podcast allowed the public to see the human behind the athlete, the thoughts, emotions, and mindset that drive her success. From the very first question, it was clear this would not be an ordinary interview. Her calm confidence immediately drew listeners in. Unlike many athletes who give rehearsed, media-trained responses, Alexandra chose authenticity. She didn't pretend that pressure didn't exist. She didn't rely on cliches about taking one match at a time or staying focused. Instead, she acknowledged the immense responsibility that comes with representing her country, with being visible on international stages, and with carrying expectations that extend far beyond the tennis court. When asked about pressure, she explained how it follows her everywhere. She spoke about the emotional weight of performing not only for herself, but also for young fans in the Philippines who see her as a role model. She explained how victories and losses affect her personally, how criticism and praise alike can impact her mindset, and how she uses both to fuel growth rather than succumb to doubt. That sentence, simple yet powerful, became a defining moment of the episode. Social media immediately picked it up. I use it as fuel. Those 4 words encapsulated resilience, determination, and self-awareness in a way that transcended sport. Alexandra then shared the story of her early development in the Philippines, a country where tennis is not the dominant sport. Unlike countries with abundant tennis infrastructure and national development programs, she had to carve her path differently. She described the scarcity of courts, limited access to elite coaching, and the constant effort required to stand out. On an international level, listeners were drawn not just to her achievements, but to the struggle behind them, the sacrifices she made, the dedication required, and the mental toughness she cultivated from a young age. She spoke candidly about leaving home as a teenager to train in Spain, facing cultural challenges, adapting to high-intensity training schedules, and learning how to live independently. She revealed the emotional challenges of distance from family, especially during moments of disappointment or loss. That level of transparency was striking to viewers worldwide. It wasn't just tennis insight, it was insight into perseverance, mental fortitude, and the human side of athletic development. As the podcast progressed, Alexandra reflected on how critics and doubters have shaped her mentality. She admitted that she reads comments, hears skepticism, and feels doubt from the outside world. But rather than letting it discourage her, she channels it as motivation. She said calmly, "I use it as fuel." This statement, simple yet profound, became viral almost instantly. Clips circulated on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Analysts replayed it on sports shows. Fans added it to highlight reels and motivational compilations. That phrase transformed the narrative from skepticism to empowerment. Alexandra's insight into the mental side of tennis went even deeper. She described the emotional highs and lows of traveling on tour, the isolation, that can creep in during long trips, and the difficulty of coping with defeats that feel amplified by online audiences. She didn't frame this as weakness, she framed it as part of growth. She spoke about routines she uses to maintain mental balance, the importance of a supportive team, and the deliberate strategies she employs to bounce back after a loss. That level of candidness, rarely heard from young athletes, allowed fans to connect with her on a personal level. It wasn't just the aspiring tennis players who felt inspired, it was parents, students, professionals, and anyone striving for growth, under pressure. Alexandra also addressed the transition from junior to professional tennis, a topic that is often overlooked by casual fans. She explained that while junior titles provide confidence, they do not guarantee success at the WTA level. The speed, consistency, and mental demands increase dramatically. She shared how she manages expectations, stays grounded, and focuses on process rather than immediate results. That reflection offered young players worldwide a realistic view of professional development and demonstrated Alexandra's maturity beyond her years. The cultural significance of her journey also resonated deeply. Representing the Philippines in international competitions carries additional weight. As tennis is not the country's most popular sport, she spoke about inspiring the next generation, about seeing young athletes pick up a racket because of her, and about the pride she feels knowing that her dedication has a ripple effect. Clips highlighting this portion of the podcast circulated widely, especially within Filipino communities globally. Pride, inspiration, and admiration poured into comment sections as fans expressed gratitude for her authenticity and leadership. Midway through the conversation, Alexandra addressed her long-term goals with remarkable clarity. She didn't make extravagant promises or hype-driven statements about becoming world number one. Instead, she focused on incremental progress, building her physical strength, improving specific areas of her game, and honing mental resilience. She emphasized patience, consistent effort, and the importance of a strong support system. This grounded approach contrasted sharply with the often exaggerated ambitions portrayed in sports media and made her words feel credible and sustainable. One particularly powerful moment came when Alexandra reflected on what she would tell her younger self. She paused thoughtfully and then advised patience, self-compassion, and trust in the process. This moment became one of the most replayed segments of the podcast, resonating far beyond tennis. Listeners applied her advice to their own struggles in academics, work, and personal growth. The episode's viral success was driven not by controversy, drama, or sensationalism, but by depth, authenticity, and relatability. Clips circulated globally. Analysts praised her emotional intelligence. Fans shared the episode widely, creating conversations in forums, comment sections, and social media groups. Even casual viewers who had never watched a tennis match before became invested in her story. After the podcast, anticipation for her upcoming matches intensified. Fans weren't just watching to see if she would win, they were watching to see how the mindset she described would manifest under real competition. Every rally, every comeback, every tense moment now carried additional narrative weight, linking her on-court performance to the personal and psychological insights she shared. The episode also highlighted the power of voice in modern sports. In an era dominated by highlight reels, flashy interviews, and social media spectacle, Alexandra Eala proved that authenticity and insight can capture attention just as powerfully. She didn't chase headlines. Headlines chased her. She didn't manufacture drama. She offered substance. And that substance resonates longer than spectacle. Analysts began referencing her quotes in pre-match segments. Coaches used her words to motivate young athletes. Social media pages created content around her phrases, dissecting her mindset and approach. The influence extended beyond sports, becoming a model for resilience, self-awareness, and leadership. Alexandra's reflections on success were particularly noteworthy. She redefined it as consistency, growth, and the ability to compete at a high level over time, rather than instant titles or rankings. She emphasized that mental preparation, self-awareness, and incremental improvement are equally critical. This insight not only demonstrated maturity, but also shifted the narrative around her career, positioning her as a thought leader among young athletes worldwide. The viral moment was further amplified by her discussion of the challenges of living abroad at a young age. She spoke about adapting to new cultures, training systems, and social environments. She acknowledged moments of loneliness and self-doubt, but emphasized the importance of perseverance, adaptability, and maintaining focus on long-term goals. These reflections resonated deeply with viewers, offering a blueprint for anyone navigating unfamiliar challenges. Alexandra also addressed the broader societal impact of her journey. She highlighted how young athletes from non-traditional tennis nations often face skepticism and limited resources, and how overcoming these barriers requires resilience, strategy, and community support. Her comments served as inspiration for viewers worldwide, demonstrating that with dedication and belief, success is possible regardless of starting point or circumstance. As the episode continued, Alexandra shared anecdotes from her junior career, describing moments of triumph, setbacks, and learning experiences that shaped her approach to professional tennis. She emphasized the value of patience, self-reflection, and learning from mistakes, providing listeners with actionable insights into mental toughness, preparation, and performance. The impact of the podcast was immediate and measurable. Social media platforms were flooded with clips and quotes, each shared thousands of times. Fans created compilations, discussion threads, and motivational content around her statements. Media outlets reported on her insights, framing her as a role model, a thought leader, and a rising star whose influence extends far beyond rankings or titles. The conversation Alexandra started during that podcast has had long-lasting effects. It shifted public perception, elevated her profile, and demonstrated the power of authenticity in sports media. Her words created a narrative that extends beyond tennis, one of resilience, growth, representation, and mental fortitude. The world saw her not just as a rising athlete, but as a voice of inspiration, a relatable human being, and a leader in development. Every subsequent match, interview, and appearance now carries additional weight, as fans and analysts alike are invested not only in her performance, but in the mindset and perspective she shared. In a landscape often dominated by spectacle, Alexandra Eala's podcast moment reminded the world that authenticity, insight, and courage are just as compelling as highlight reels. Her approach serves as a model for young athletes and professionals across disciplines, illustrating how transparency, patience, and thoughtful reflection can create influence and inspire others on a global scale. Alexandra's viral podcast moment was historic, not because of controversy or sensationalism, but because it showcased a rare combination of talent, self-awareness, and vulnerability. She has proven that impact is not measured solely by trophies or rankings, but by the ability to connect with audiences, inspire action, and shape narrative through honesty, consistency, and resilience. This episode solidified Alexandra Eala's place not just in tennis history, but in the hearts of fans worldwide. Her story now serves as a guidepost for aspiring athletes, demonstrating that true influence comes from authenticity, perseverance, and the courage to share one's journey openly. From Manila to Melbourne, Madrid to major tennis venues worldwide, her voice has resonated across borders, cultures, and disciplines. Alexandra Eala's journey exemplifies how dedication, mental strength, and authenticity combine to create moments that inspire, motivate, and redefine success. The episode will be remembered not as a fleeting trend, but as a pivotal moment that elevated a young athlete into a global voice, leaving a legacy that extends far beyond the court. It is a testament to the fact that greatness is not only measured by victories, but also by the courage to share struggles, the wisdom to embrace growth, and the vision to inspire others through one's story. In conclusion, Alexandra Eala walked into a podcast as a rising star and walked out as a global voice. Her words sparked viral engagement, reshaped perceptions, and inspired countless fans worldwide. The power of her authenticity, insight, and vulnerability has created an influence that will endure far beyond any single tournament or match. She has shown that being genuine, reflective, and intentional is as impactful as any championship. And in doing so, she has captured the attention, respect, and admiration of the entire world. Her journey is a masterclass in resilience, mindset, and leadership. And the podcast on The Sit Down will remain a defining moment in the narrative of one of tennis's brightest stars.